It's really nice to catch up with you again, although virtually. I trust you're keeping well.
I'm doing well, Rodney, and I hope you're doing well too. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And let me start by congratulating you as well, because I believe you just completed your doctorate. So heartiest congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Naveen. Yes, thank you very much. So anyway, I wanted to catch up with you because, as you know, every year we conduct a survey of our global network. We reach out to partners and directors around the world just to get a sense of quality, sense of family and teamwork, and how we're delivering on our promise to add value to clients. And well, on our last survey, participants noted that you were a great team member to work with on global teams. So I wanted to congratulate you for that. And I wanted to ask you a bit more about that. But first, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're based and what you do, things like that.
So let me start by saying I'm truly humbled to receive that feedback, Rodney, and thanks for giving me this platform to speak to you. So as a matter of introduction, my name is Naveen Aggarwal. I'm an international tax partner. I've been with the firm for close to 15 years now. I'm based out of New Delhi in India. And apart from my role in international tax, I also lead our North India tax practice at KPMG in India. And other than that, I do wear a role where I drive cross-border collaboration between a US and India member firm. So I lead that corridor, and it's one of our key corridors and growth engines for the firm.
Nice. Well, that's a lot of hats to wear, Naveen. So coming back to this topic, tell us a little bit about your philosophy, how you approach working on a global team, helping clients solve their most complex issues.
Right. So firstly, Rodney, I think being a part of the international tax team and the network, I've had the privilege of working on a wide variety of clients across different sectors, ranging from technology, media, telecom, to internet commerce, consumer markets, and a few others. And I think for me, it's not really rocket science. I think the 3 or 4 principles that I follow, which has helped me deliver on some of those engagements are, first is, I think, important to really understand what the client really wants. And I think in today's times, we're seeing a situation where clients are getting into new businesses, are looking at expansion, are looking at complex restructuring. And it's important as we're dealing as global teams that there is some sense of alignment as to what the agenda of the client is, what is the client really looking at, and what's the direction in which what's the outcome that they want to drive. So I think that's the first part. And I think bringing that alignment together is critical. The second part, I would say, is having a very solution-oriented focus. And that becomes extremely important because, in the Indian context, the entire legislative framework is continuously evolving. We see new rulings coming out from the judiciary. Add to that the pace at which global developments are happening. So overall, tax environment is becoming extremely complex and challenging. And therefore, as global teams, it's very important for us to be very clear and consistent in our tax advice. It's important for us to provide advice which is practicable and implementable. And of course, it needs to be backed with technical research, analysis, looking at all dimensions, including industry practices. But today, clients are looking for not just options in terms of what direction they want to. Basically, they're looking for some sort of recommendations which are more solution oriented. So that's the second element, I would say. The third thing I would say, speed is extremely important. And I think that becomes an important differentiator. It may seem like a hygiene factor, but I think as we're working across the globe, it's important for us to be very responsive. And sometimes clients don't necessarily want a detailed advice to begin with. It's about having just one quick phone conversation and providing some initial thoughts. I think that goes a long way in building a trusted, long-lasting relationship with the client. And the fourth element I would say is partner time. And I see that from my experience working with the lead partners on the other side when they're driving large accounts, that they're pretty much involved on the engagement right from start to end. And therefore, I think that same level of accountability has to be demonstrated by each of the partners in the member firm, so that clients really get the same experience. They obviously get they leverage the experience of the senior partners, and at the same time, it's helpful in driving the outcome that they're looking at trying to achieve. So I think those are fundamentally the four principles that I typically follow while working on client engagements.
Well, just great principles as well. And Naveen, if you had tips, advice, words of wisdom for people perhaps starting to work on global virtual teams, or maybe already doing so, just given that philosophy that you outlined, what would that advice be?
I would say, it's again, like I said, it's pretty simple, and I would say I'm sure a lot of the teams are already doing that. I think we need to represent to the client that we're operating as one firm, as one large big family, as you said, right? And therefore, it's important that the experience that the client gets is truly seamless across our network, and therefore, from that perspective, the quality and the delivery standards that we need to display should be consistent, and clients should understand that this is what they get when they're dealing with KPMG across the world. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say that the lead partner on the account is reposing a lot of trust when they're working with another member firm, and I think it's important that the partner and the team that is working on that engagement in some sense reciprocates on that. Whether it is, again, in terms of response time, in terms of alignment of objectives, and just in terms of the kind of delivery standards that are expected. So that's the second thing I would say. And the third thing I would say is that sometimes the difference between us and a competitor is not that much. And what really makes a difference is, again, the commitment that comes from the top, which is really the partner involvement, but also it's to do with the technical depth and the responsiveness of the team. So I think as you start working on these engagements, I think these are some of the factors that have helped me, and I'm sure some of them you would be following as well, but could be helpful as you look at building our relationship with some of our large accounts.
Well, just great advice, Naveen. That is great advice, particularly that piece about thinking behind the question, and then the whole developing and maintaining trust in the team as we deliver seamlessly. So thank you for your words today, and congratulations for being called out for being one of our great global team members. It's good to catch up with you, Naveen.
Thank you, Rodney, and great speaking to you, and I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Sometime soon.